What is up, everyone? Welcome to the Chat with Langston podcast. And in my previous episode, I believe I talked about how to get started in cybersecurity, and I think that's a really important one, especially for people who are, looking into like get into the industry, explore that area because I think we all know that cybersecurity is a very hot topic, especially in today's climate. Um, and to be really honest, it always was a hot topic. It's just that it's getting a lot more traction right now. Even 10, 20 years ago, when I was a kid, um, I remember at the time it was pretty like relevant, and it's just that right now we have moved so much into technology. Technology has evolved where you need a lot more cybersecurity experts today, and we do not really have a lot of them. So definitely check it out. Check out that video, and hopefully, you get into. Hopefully, that inspires you, helps you get into the right track. And if you have any questions, feel free to message me via LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, whatever. But today, I wanna, kind of wanna pivot from that specific video because a lot of the people who want to get into cybersecurity, um, they look at it as a career. Obviously, oh yeah, it makes a lot of money. Oh, it's really cool. You get to hack and stuff like that. But I really feel like, if you're getting into it, I feel like the mindset behind that is very important because you really need to be able to care about this topic a lot more, especially if you're into it. I think that goes with any career. You got to really care about your specific thing. But when it comes to cybersecurity, it's really a mindset because we have so many cybersecurity attacks that are happening recently, so many ways in which people are trying to get into organizations, try to steal data, try to do all these kind of stuff. So you I feel like keeping up with the recent trends, especially for people who are trying to get into this industry, I think that's a very I think that's key because that kind of also helps you understand if you really want to get into this industry. Is this something that you really want? Because it's a lot, right? It's definitely pretty overwhelming. I want to talk about something that recently happened. It was a world typhoon targets US critical infrastructure with living off the land techniques. I'm not gonna go super technical into this because I'm pretty sure my audience might, be technical, non-technical viewers. So I'm not gonna even talk about. I'm gonna give a I'm gonna keep it as simple as possible. But basically, the way this specific attack is state sponsored by China, and it essentially focuses on information gathering for US critical infrastructure. And essentially they developed, you know, a way. It's targeted malicious activity, not using a malware, but basically finding, let's just say they want to find weak doors. When I say doors, I mean like weak technology, maybe technology that not has not been patched. By not being patches, you get these frequent updates on your phone, for example, and when Apple or Android tells you to update those, it's like a security update because we need to update this because it's a security fix that we're doing. So think of that as it's just not Apple, it's like so many other vendors who have these updates as well, right? These updates are done to basically protect your organization from any potential cyber attacks, because if you do not update your yes your routers, your switches, or your firewalls on time, or your Windows PC, your Apple MacBook, potential uh, technology where attackers would want to take advantage of. If it's vulnerable, they'd be like, okay, we can exploit this, and we can somehow get into an organization. So always update your stuff, all right? Just want to put it out there. But essentially, that's how this works, right? And it's like living off the land techniques in the sense that it basically they try to take advantage of another network to be able to exploit this. Now, again, I don't want to get into this because, to be honest, it's definitely, especially for my new audience, it is a pretty heavy topic. But I would definitely recommend you read about it, because talking about this itself might probably need another podcast, which I think I might actually do it. Um, but essentially, keeping up with, you know, essentially, there are so many sophisticated attacks out there where people are trying to get into organizations, and I feel like a lot of the people who are getting into an industry must read about this stuff and be aware of this stuff, because this is what they're going to be facing when they get into the industry. Um, and whichever organization they're going to be part of, they're going to be facing stuff like this where they're going to have to assess their they're going to have to assess their infrastructure. They're going to have to like check out, okay, do we have this? How can we test for this? How do we know that we have, uh, if this is a threat for us? And what is the risk to our organization if we have something like this? And I think that's really important, right? Um if you're an analyst, or if you're a pen tester, or if you're any one of these things, you're gonna be. This is something that's a very common thing for all organizations, right? It's very important. A couple of years ago, there was a vulnerability known as Log4j. I'll definitely look it up. But it's basically a vulnerability in every Apache server that almost every industry has in their environment. And that specific vulnerability was pretty bad. I mean, if someone had to exploit that, technically, like I believe the vulnerability was something around being able to manipulate your logs. So yeah, it's pretty serious, right? So I would say it's important for you who's trying to get into this, and I mean for myself who's in this industry, to read about this stuff and be up to date. Because let's just say you get into this career and maybe you're going for an interview, or someone's trying to ask yourself, they're gonna definitely ask you like, hey, do you know what's going on right now? Do you know what's the biggest threat out there right now? Because you cannot just go in and say, yeah, I want to be in cybersecurity, when you don't know what's going on. And I feel like your own awareness is pretty important. And this is something that someone told me earlier as well, because obviously when you're starting a career, you're gonna have to go for an interview, right? It's essentially a job, and you're gonna have to be aware of the most recent stuff. And at the time, I remember I used to keep up to date. I wouldn't say I'm the best person. I was not always up to date, but I'd read news like Hacker News, or there's a lot of stuff out there. Honestly, at the top of my head, I can't even like remember. Hacker News is the one place I would always go to though. But on LinkedIn, people would share stuff. I would read them. Um, and yeah, I would just keep up with this. And it did help me, because it kind of, whenever I used to read stuff like that, it helped me understand why I wanted to get into this industry a lot more. And it kind of motivated me to pursue that further. It gave me that perseverance to basically continue into cybersecurity and you know make a career out of it. So that's essentially the point that I'm trying to make over here, that if you're really trying to get into this, please read, watch videos. A lot of YouTubers, whenever something like this comes up, they'll make a video on it and they'll summarize all the information, which honestly is very helpful nowadays. I think I used to watch a lot of videos, which kind of helped me. Listen to podcasts. People even talk about this stuff on podcasts, so that's pretty educational. Um, I used to listen to some of this podcast, and right now I haven't. Most recently, I haven't. But I read the news, so for me, I get my information by reading, and it kind of works for me better. Just because I personally don't prefer listening to cybersecurity podcasts, when they're talking about this stuff, because I rather read it just for my own. When I read it, I understand it better, you know. And I watch videos too occasionally. So yeah, that's essentially what I'm trying to convey in this video. Again, if you're getting into cybersecurity, make sure that you keep up with the latest stuff, and that way you will know if you really want to get into this or not. So I hope that really helps, and I really hope that you get some value out of this video or this podcast, whichever way you're listening to this. And I hope to see you in the next video, on the next podcast. Before you guys go, please like and subscribe to my channel. I really appreciate it. Leave a comment below to let me know what you think of this, and I'll see you next time.